My name is Zachary Reff. I'm making this video in reference to the Lean Solutions position that's available here in Charlotte, North Carolina region. Before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised in a small town in upstate New York. It was just east of Lake Ontario. I graduated with my associate's degree from the local community college, and directly after graduation, a buddy and myself decided to move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I worked there through the summer, and as the fall started coming in, the hours that I was getting started going from full-time and above down to part-time hours. So I then moved up here where I currently live in Mooresville, North Carolina, to start my manufacturing career. I started working at Cardinal FG. Cardinal is a float glass manufacturing plant. They make glass from its raw components, and they'll ship it to somebody else that would process the glass further and get it ready for sale. After working at Cardinal for about 2.5 years, I took a job at Freightliner to build Class A trucks. I worked at Freightliner for 4.5 years until the 2008 financial crisis. They did a seniority-based layoff, and I didn't have enough time to stay. So after being laid off, I went to a company called Best Suite. They're currently called Best Co. They are a nutraceutical manufacturing facility, and they make products such as Zicam, Cepacol, Luden's throat drops, Viactive, over-the-counter type medicines. It's an FDA regulated facility. So in 2012, I was faced with a difficult decision. I got a job offer from my previous employer, Freightliner, to go into a quality related direction, or I could stay at Best Suite and continue in my supervision / management role. I made the decision to go back to Freightliner to build trucks, and in the beginning of this year, in January 2016, they announced another layoff that was going to be seniority based, and unfortunately I didn't have quite enough seniority to make the cut. So I stand here today as of April 15th, unemployed. It seemed like trying to show loyalty to another company, they didn't show loyalty to me. So that was a hard pill to swallow and a lesson that needed to be learned. Job security has to take a higher priority in my list. This Lean Solutions position is something that I'm familiar with because lean manufacturing has been a part of all my manufacturing career and started in the early 2000s. We've absolutely practiced different lean methodologies and even Six Sigma methodology. I'd like to answer the questions that you had in your video. Your first question asked about something that we learned without being taught or shown in a textbook. What came to mind for me was my work ethic. My work ethic was more out of necessity than something that I learned or was taught. Again, growing up in upstate New York, 3 out of the 4 months was very cold. You know, our house didn't have a thermostat that you could turn to make it nice and warm and cozy. You know, we had a wood stove that needed to be stoked. You know, before you went to work, you needed to make sure the driveway was shoveled and the walkway was cleared. I got my first job when I was 11 years old, and it was a paper route. I earned almost $30 a week, and I was able to buy the school sneakers that were cool that I liked instead of the school sneakers my parents could afford. I worked full-time during the summers in my middle school career, and then when I turned 16, I got a job at the local pizzeria. I worked at that pizzeria until the day I moved down south. So work ethic was something that was ingrained right from the start. A more specific example came across when I was answering your third question. So we'll come back to this just a little bit. Your second question asked about us working with our hands, things we liked about it, and even things we disliked. In the manufacturing environment, whichever environment you're in, you always have to work with your hands and get whatever product you're manufacturing and ready to sell to your customer with the correct quality. So during my work experience, I've worked with my hands quite a bit. In my personal time, I've done different things. The information that we have available to us on the internet is phenomenal. I had a dirt bike that started running totally crappy. I knew it was a carburetor, but I had never fixed a carburetor. So I got online, researched the problem, and learned as much as I could. I bought a jet kit, rejetted the carburetor, and it ran beautifully. You know, there's a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride when you can do something and not depend on somebody else to perform that task. I cut my own grass, I changed my own oil. I enjoy working with my hands. Another example was a chest that was given to me from a family member that had sentimental value, but it didn't look so good. Sanding that down and refinishing it, putting a nice finish on it that you know is going to last for years, and making it presentable in your apartment or your house was rewarding in itself as well. So working with my hands is absolutely something that has been a part of my career and my life. What I dislike about working with my hands relates to the personal protective equipment. Obviously in a manufacturing facility, your PPEs are mandatory. You know, but when I'm changing my oil, cutting my grass, different things like that, I don't wear safety glasses, hearing protection, or gloves unless I absolutely have to. So that would definitely qualify as something I dislike. Your third and last question talked about a recent position where we trained someone how to do something. And in my most recent position at Daimler, that was my job, was to identify repetitive discrepancies, problem solve those discrepancies. I would create a visual aid and present that visual aid to whichever technician was performing that specific job. I'd also show the quality inspector in that area so they could check it as well. We were given excellent training on how to problem solve the issues. We were given great training on how to analyze the data, sort the data through Microsoft Excel, and we were given good training on how to create the visual aids. But your first question asked about something that we learned without good instruction or textbook or anything. And we never got training on how to actually go to the line and present that information and train the individual to understand the discrepancy and how to fix it. What I learned was, if I was in a hurry, having to go to a meeting or having something else going on, and I spent a little bit of time with that production tech and kind of brushed through the visual aid, I learned that my results would be very inconsistent. On the other hand, if I worked with that individual, you know, if I showed him respect and I helped him understand that I was there to be a resource for him, and anything else issue that may arise, I was there for him for help. I wanted to make his job easier, more efficient. You know, I wasn't there to make his job harder. So once we kind of developed that connection, I would say that the results became much, much more consistent. That individual would oftentimes share the information with somebody in his work group that fills in for him when he is out. He may even share that information with the next shift that would be relieving him. So that would be an example of learning something, how to train the people to get good results without actually being trained on how to do that specific task. So that would be the answers to the questions that you had, and I guess I would like to just let you know that I'm extremely interested in this lean solutions position. I think the area that we're in, with the level of manufacturing that we have, there is an extreme amount of potential for this in this region. We have Charlotte, Salisbury, Hickory, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, even Mooresville, my hometown, has many manufacturing facilities. I'm ready to learn the 3M products like the back of my hand. I'm ready to learn as much as I can about metalworking. You know, I try to be passionate about my job because we only like things that we're good at. You know, if you get your job, and it may not have been the job you wanted to do when you were growing up, but when you get good at that job, it makes it a lot better going in. You get satisfaction out of that. So my goal is to learn as much as I can about my job, so I'm very good at it, and I can get people that respect and want to come to me for different answers and to get my help. So again, I'm very interested in the lean solutions position. I think there's a ton of potential in this area. I would love to be on the team. I'm going to send you an email that will have my resume. Hopefully you can review it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that we can get in contact sometime in the future. I'll leave you with this. Mr. Corey, you may find applicants that have more experience than my 15 years manufacturing experience. You might even find applicants that have more education than my bachelor's degree. But you won't find an applicant that will work as hard as I will. I'm ready to do the job. I'm ready to talk to you. If you're ready to talk, please reach out. I appreciate your time. God bless.